Hello guys and welcome back. As one of our subscriber requested, we're going to look at how we can attach the perception to actually where the head is. So when the head turns, the perception will turn. Even when the character is still facing that way, when the capsule component is still facing that way, right? If the head has turned to maybe to the left side, then the perception will actually go to the left side, right? That would be really cool. Okay. To do that though, I'm gonna, just for debugging purposes, I'm gonna look for my behavior tray and just temporarily connect that to another sequence here and save that. So that way we don't have to worry about the AI doing random stuff. Let me go ahead and play. You can see now when I turn on the perception, you can see, well, it's on the eye height, but it's not quite moving with the body. Okay. It's like it's just stuck over there, and when the head moves forward and backwards and also a little bit up and down, you can see that it's not really following the head. Okay. If you really look at the AI controller and look into the AI perception, underneath the site, and since you can see, there's not much setting here to determine that, right? I don't see any setting here that actually does that, so assume that it's not implemented, at least for blueprint. Okay, so the solution will be actually you have to do some C++ coding, but let me try to make it as simple as possible. Back here, add a new, and then we're going to add a new C++ class. Okay. And then I'm going to look for the class which is the AI controller. If I cannot find them, I can turn on the show all classes. Just look for AI controller. Okay. Next, I'm going to call this AI controller base. Okay. And then create class. All right. Now this is going to take a lot of time because this is the first time we add C++ class, and you will have a C++ folder here too afterwards. So I'm going to pause the video until that all this process is done. Alright, welcome back. So finally Visual Studio has finished all the setup, and now we can go ahead and do something. So we have two files, a header file and a CPP file. This is just how C++ works. It has to have those header files and CPP files, but just don't worry too much about what they're meaning if you've never done a C++ before, but you do have to install Visual Studio though. That's something you just have to have. One more thing, I do encourage you to use Visual Studio 2015 just because it just works better with our engine, but 17 also works. I'm using 17. Anyway, that's not important. So let's do some coding here. So I'm going to create a public, okay, a public function, a override basically, and we're going to override a function called getActorEye viewpoint. This one, oops, actually the other one, this one. Okay, it's a constant function. I'm going to override that. Okay, so you can copy whatever I'm typing in here. I just override that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is copy it, and here in the CPP you can drag this over here and put it to like another column. Okay, and you can paste that there, but you want to also copy this guy and paste it in front of the function name and type into columns. Okay, and then you don't really need that override or the semicolon. Just type into curly bracket. Right. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to create another function. It's going to be a U function, not U property, U function, and blueprints implementable event. Implementable events category category will be equals to controller base, AIC base. Okay, and this is going to be a function that has very similar signature, just different name. We'll call this guy let's call this determine AI site perception viewpoint. Okay, and again, it's going to be a constant because we're not changing anything, we're just getting information, and we just need the same signature basically for the argument. All right, the same. We don't actually need to implement it because this is blueprint implementable, meaning that you don't have to implement it in here, right? So again, what we do, you just need to type in basically, I don't know how many lines of code. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code, and many of those are empty, right? This one and that one. So not a lot of work to do, but you just, oh, actually I need one more line of code. Of course, I need to call this guy here. So let me just type in out location and out rotation. Okay. All right. So why am I doing this? So when the AI tries to see something, when that site configuration we added to the AI perception here is trying to see something. Okay. So if I go to the AI, oops, that's my other project actually. Let me go to this project we're working on. So when the AI is trying to, the AI perception is trying to use this AI site configure to see something, it's going to ask the AI perception component, okay, where should I look, right? And the AI perception component will then ask the AI controller using this function to get the location and direction to look. Okay, and we're overriding this function because this function does not give you where the head is looking at. It's basically giving you, if we haven't set up anything else, under the hood internally, it's going to eventually give you where the pawn is possessing, where is that actor's rotation, right? Actor rotation. And that's not what we want, so we have to override it because this is actually a virtual function, right? In the base class, in the actor class. Okay, so that's why we want to override it. So we want to determine it ourselves, and we're inside of it, we're calling this blueprint implementable event because I kind of wanted to implement it in blueprint, and that's why I'm doing it here. So now let's go ahead and back to the editor and do compile. Okay, let me pause the video. All right, welcome back. So now back here, when the compilation is done and successful, go to the AIC guard. I'm going to change the class default, or actually the class setting, to be based on the parent class to be based on my new class called AI controller base. Okay, and compile and save this. Okay, now if you go to the functions underneath override, you can see there is going to be my determine somewhere. I don't really see it, so maybe I need to reopen this editor to do that. Okay, double check. I'm using my, oops, not simulating. I'm using my AI controller base, right? Go to the override, and I don't really see it here. Having it in my code, determine site perception viewpoint, and I see guard is over there. AI controller base, is that my class? Yeah, it is my class, so that should be over there. Okay. Let me see. Determine. No, it's not even here. Okay, that's weird. It should be in there. I probably need to reopen my editor to do that. So let me close that. Okay, and reopen it. I can reopen it by just start without debugging here. Yeah, I reviewed it here in my Visual Studio, but you can also just reopen it, or you can do it here too. Just build debug. Actually, debug. Yeah, start without debugging. Right, that should allow it to recompile everything. because it should be over there already, but it's not, so I'm not sure why. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for this one to finish. Alright, now we're back. Let me open the AIC guard. Now you can see we have like 21 overrides. Yeah, determine AI set perception viewpoint. Okay, that's the class we created in CPP. Okay, so here I just need to specify my own out location and out rotation. That's going to be then used by the site. Okay, to do that, I need to get the pong. Okay, get controlled pong. And then I'm going to say let's cast it to character. Okay, and because the character does have the mesh, right, so I'm gonna we can get the mesh. Okay, or type in mesh. Okay, get the mesh, and then I'm gonna drag out from the execution pin. Oh, actually I need to get socket transform, should be fine. Okay, and the transform, the socket will be the, let's just try the name of the head bone. So I'm gonna go look for the character. Okay, and double click to open the skeletal mesh. Go to skeleton, and let's look down through the bones. You can see there is a head bone. Right? Let me double click to copy the name, or right click, there is a copy selected bone names. And back here to my blueprint, I can then paste in that name. So that's the head. So I'm gonna basically say I'm gonna get where the head is. Okay, and then I'm gonna split this structure pin to get the location and the rotation. So this is gonna give me the location and rotation of the head bone, and that goes to there, right? Okay, so now we're basically saying when the AI is site is trying to ask where to look, where does it look? It's going to look from the location of the head and look towards the rotation of the head. Okay, compile and save that. Let's go ahead and play our game. Okay, I'm going to run towards the AI. Okay, and then I can take a look at the, whoops, looks like the AI is looking up. Okay, so that's not quite right, but you can see it's following the bone, right? You can see it's like it's glued to the head, although the head maybe is facing upwards. Okay, anyway, so one thing I did do here, of course, is in the AI behavior tray, I temporarily turn off the AI behavior because I don't really want that to distract me, so that goes actually here. Okay, to a new sequence. But anyway, so here what I need to do then is I need to go ahead and say let's actually define a socket in the skeletal mesh so that we can define where it is. So I'm gonna go here and look for that head. Okay, I'm gonna add a socket. I'm gonna call this guy I. Okay, and for the eye socket, let's type in eye socket. Okay, and for the eye sockets, I'm gonna make the X direction the red arrow to look forward that way, and Z axis to look up because that's the word coordinate. I wanted to make it go this way, right? All right, so that feels better. And copy the name of the eye socket. Z is the blue one. Okay, so back here to the code, we can then say instead of the head socket, I'm going to use the eye socket. Compile and save this. Now back here and play. Let me do the debugging one more time. I can see it's in the right location. I can see it's bonded with the head. All right, cool. So this is how you do it. Now you may ask, okay, how do you figure this out? That's how can I even figure this out myself? Is there any documentation on this? The answer is no. In their official documentation, they have very vague explanations on stuff, and this is the way it is for any complicated thing. Basically, any complicated program, the documentation will be crappy. Right? You cannot ask for that because it just has so many things to do. So the way I figure this out is actually look through the source code internally. Okay. Now if you're not interested in how exactly I figure this out, you can just use this. But if you're interested in how this is figured out, I can show you in the next video. But if you're not interested in that, jump the next video and just keep going. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.